And it's like hovering something here. I mean, the bans in terms of we can take away, it's very similar to the first game. We talk about these priorities, this Gwen, this Wukong. We're not going to see that quite yet on the day. It's going to be the Viego first pick.
Makes a lot of sense. I really like this champion. Just reset capability in a late game is really unparalleled in terms of how much pressure you can establish in a team fight. And I also want to call tribute there to the Akshan ban away from Kyo. Certainly a champion that we don't see too frequently on the ban table, but it's always nice to see a little bit of a, not necessarily a throw out to that champion, but to the player specifically for having really good skills.
And this is something we picked up on earlier in the day. We talked about the veracity and confidence of this Ezreal blind. Will it be in Icarus-like fashion punished by potentially that Kalista pick?
They do also have the opportunity to just go for, any sort of hyper carry. This Ezreal pick
Yeah.
also opens up for a Kai'Sa as well, because Ezreal really bad at punishing laning phase, but really good at being powerful later on. So you can tend to go for one of those weaker laners to get to the late game a little bit easier. So far, though, they've gone for Karma Viego, which is just a really nice two-man combo. It's not quite to the same extent of the likes of an Nautilus Graves that we saw from game number 1, but at the same token, it is going to set you up nicely
Spoke about it
for the Kalista pick.
That's a nice little shout out from me there.
Yeah.
It's always nice when a plan comes together.
It is. It is. It's one of the best feelings is when you go, I think this will happen, and then it happens, and you're just there like.
I think important to note though, in terms of like what this Kalista needs, it needs that counter, but it also needs a good support matchup for me.
Mm.
I don't know necessarily if traditionally you would view the Karma as that lane counterpart. It's going to be coming up against the Ezreal Braum. How do you feel about this 2v2 that's been set up?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be really good for Go. I'll be honest, Enchanters versus a Braum tend to do very well. The Braum is more of a mitigating pick, tries to stop snowballs from happening, and granted, you're in a lane where you want to do that, but you've got a very weak AD carry to begin with. Your skirmish possibility, if you get Jocko down there, certainly does exist, but for the 2v2 in itself, I certainly expect to see a lot of poke from Wagner. Smiley really trying to dance around. If you can dodge out on that Winter's Bite, you should never really be getting auto-attacked, and with the Martial Poise, it's incredibly easy to try and get away from those skill shots, particularly up against an Ezreal, who is all skill shots essentially. You want to be making sure that you're missing out on as much damage as possible.
I think mid lane bans have to be the ones that come out here from Go. Strangely enough, you know what is really good against what's pretty decent against Kalista is what I've been hearing. Is one of the strongest mid laners of the patch. I think Talia could be good here. It might be something they look towards getting away from it, or it might be something that Solary prioritizes in the second draft phase.
Yeah, because the dashes from Kalista all act as dashes as such.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go through the Unraveled Earth that Talia's E provides you, so it's really difficult.
So I think they're probably going to take it off the table here unless they have something that is slightly higher priority towards.
There's certainly that option. We have both solo laners as your picks for the second phase. So with the Renata ban, though, it maybe suggests that they're thinking this Karma could go into the mid lane as well for Go, putting that in either Ronaldo or Nuku's hands. So we'll have to see which one it is. The Karma triple flex is a very powerful pick indeed.
Personally, it's a quadruple flex.
Smiley as well, or Jungle. Hello, where's the fourth?
I don't think you can go Karma jungle. You used to be able to way back in the day.
Is it a quadriflex because we could also see Ronaldo play Kalista mid?
I think you can see it top. I think you see it mid. AD carry would be a little bit less popular maybe, but I'm just being pedantic. I heard you say something. I was like, you know what? Let's really stretch that to its logical constraints.
So it's full limits. Now, Solary, very basic, very standard top lane pick. They go for the Ornn, right? Nobody's surprised. You want to safe blind pick in the top lane. Ornn is that embodied. And we do have Go with this opportunity now to go for something like an Aatrox, potentially just match up tanks with a Scion. There's plenty of options open to them. They are still lacking some magic damage, so they may go for something a little bit more Bruiser-esque with Gwen off the board. Akali seems to be the next rationale, and this once again opens up that flex pick where we've got Karma, which can go in 3 roles, we've got Akali, which can go in 2, and Go still can decide the nature of their draft entirely.
Indeed, a lot of different directions as you're saying here. I'm very interested to see what ends up getting rounded out here by Wagner and Lockie, and what I believe. I mean, the thing is, I say I believe.
Yeah,
I don't want to say whether it's a mid or a top. It could be anything.
Support, there we go.
It's going to be Rakan, so that is going to be the Karma. I mean, once again, we still don't know. So much on the table here.
Yeah, both Karma and Akali can be flexed between 2 lanes, and it just makes the mid lane pick for Solary so difficult now. The power of red side is you get this R5, you get this counter pick in whichever lane you so desire. And unfortunately, you kind of have to go into it blind because you don't know what you're going up against. You don't want to take something that's aggressive to play against a Karma if you're then up against an Akali and you have a very volatile lane state. You don't want to take something that's too overtly beaten out by Karma either. So in the end, it's just going to be a fairly safe, fairly standard Victor, a champion that we've already seen do a lot of work so far today.
Indeed. I mean, we saw Rika in that first game just absolutely emitting metric tons of damage, essentially, during that first game. Really almost managing to carry his team purely on his own back. Interested to see if Scarlet can have a similar performance.
And I want to
Coming up
talk about
against Valorant.
the support or the bot lane matchup, right? We talked about Karma as Kalista as a duo. Certainly a fine enough duo, but Kalista Rakan is that next level up where you have Kalista with an engaged support that can facilitate the engagements, facilitate early game fighting, and set up for this Go team to do exactly. Team Go are hoping for the same or for a more aggressive early game. For Solary, they are once again quite content to sit back and team fight later on because they've got similar sort of setup. Ezreal not quite the hyper carry that a Jinx is, but you've still got Victor in the late game, and provided you can get to that late game stage, you expect the team fights for Solary to look quite nice.
Indeed. And it is owing to my absolute ADHD that I do have to mention the fact that we saw Aldi on the little banners going in. One of my more favourite supermarkets, to be honest with you. Where does that sit for you, Rude Dude, in the supermarket tier list?
Aldi?
Yeah. You've been there?
Yeah, of course I've been to Aldi. Come on. Aldi is like A tier, I think.
It is A tier. It's a very strong A tier. But in terms of what's being shopped so far, there's a bit of a UI bug in the sense that we can't see any of the items that have been bought.
Well, you know what? This is where we play our guessing game and we guess what everybody's picked.
Ooh, I think it could be a Doran's Blade, potentially. Or Kalista.
The early game champion itself needing early game stats certainly makes sense. Nevertheless,
intriguing. In contrast to what we're saying, traditionally we would have thought that this Viego would be catering towards the bot side. He's actually started on the red buff, so I'm wondering if he's going to potentially look to protect his topside camps and then go potentially reverse clear downwards. But that doesn't seem to be the case because he's gone for the Raptors already.
Yeah, cross clear is certainly what I would have anticipated having started on the red buff. Obviously, it is a much better or a much better leash, thing, I suppose. Yeah, you get much better leash. You also get the red buff for all of your clear as well. You get the nice little burn on all of the camps, makes your clear a little bit faster. But if we do see that cross clear, then that would be quite nice because you do want to defend your Kalista Rakan, and you can already see that Jocko with the red Raptors and looking like into blue could be fast down for a level 3 in the bot lane.
Is this the point in which we sort of call beyond? Much like Ford, we need to call beyond the Forge God and speak to them about fixing our scoreboard UI because it's really bugging me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's one of those classic production things that spectates that unfortunately we don't have any control over, and
fix your client, right?
And it just kind of sucks. But we'll move on, we'll deal with it, and you can already see early aggression in the bot lane.
Jocko's on the side here, has the ward here, but it's an aggressive 2v2 that's going on here. Steelbacks can have the Q down. They do manage to walk out of it just about, but the wave is not in the best spot.
Yeah, and I mean, this is always the slight issue with pathing away from your bot lane, is that there's no defense for this Magnum Smiley duo. They've picked the Kalista Rakan. They want to dive forward. They want to go for these engages, but Jocko was there to just defend against any sort of dives. Now, it's worth noting that Karim didn't really get a lead off of that either. He spent a little bit of time, instead of clearing, went into the enemy jungle to try and steal away a red buff. Instead, just gets a ward down, which will be later on fairly useful and holds more weight than just the defensive shadow. But at the time being, there's no real advantages gained by either jungler just yet.
Not quite yet. You do like to see some of these junglers take these level 3 advantages, especially for that. Zinzal didn't quite manage to get to the play in time. Is wrapping around now, importantly. Look at Jocko here with that wave state ready and primed to abuse.
Oh,
will he be able to find it here?
Yeah, this looks really bad.
This does look really bad as we pan around. It's going to be Wagner getting stunned up here. Smiley has both sums here. I wonder if they just turn onto him. That's going to be him getting stunned up here. Has the flash available. He's going to go very low in the end. And the wave state is still pretty bad.
Looks like it's going to get pushed in.
They're not going to opt in to push it in the end, though.
Yeah, and they use DMAT, so they're going to get a really fast base as well. Ezreal Braum not known for their wave clear to get back and reset, but this should be a large portion of the wave denied unless Karim can get there to hold it, but it looks like he's going to go for the Pugs instead. So a really nice gank down on the bot side, and so far for Solary, a very job well done. They're trying to mitigate the early game snowball of a Kalista. They've done that beautifully by burning both summoner spells and establishing a CS lead on their ADC.
Yeah, and it's not exactly the matchup we were hoping for when we hyped it up in the pre-game about these two sort of relatively new to the league. Obviously, Kyo being hyped up as a rookie in the previous split, we would have liked to have seen maybe a carry versus carry matchup, but easily a Kali versus Diorn. But nonetheless, Kyo managing to keep up in CS relatively well so far, since I was transitioning into the top side camps.
Yeah, for the pretty much the first time, I suppose, here this game. 5 minutes into the game, going to take those level 1 Krugs away and set himself up for a little bit more gold. As Steelback tentative to walk forward.
Ignorum's going to look here. He's going to find that he doesn't quite manage to find much here. Azer's going to have to flash out here eventually. Burns the heal. Engage from Vignorum was effective there in this bot side jungle. It's going to mean they can move towards this Grom. Azer, you can't walk this way, fella. The jungle does not belong to you anymore.
Yeah, really greedy path, and you can see Steelback actually going around the back of this wolf wall instead, and obviously saves his flash for it. But both summoner spells now burned in response.
This can mean they can set up around this. The jungler has to be here to allow them to pass it.
That's exactly what this is what we wanted from Go to begin with. We would have loved to have seen this, a couple minutes earlier on. Karim's still here, still hovering. You can see that Joko is ready and nearby.
It's going to be Skull opting for a base. He's going to get out here eventually. Just being a little bit cheeky. A few slaps on the ward as he gets out there. That's a tilt diff.
Tilt diff. They get the pink ward, we don't. It's over. Is that the tilt diff?
I've been in a lot of solo queue games that have been decided over pink wards.
I think we all have. We've all been there. And I think this dragon is incredibly aggressive.
This is very aggressive, especially with the fact that Smiley and Vignorum haven't gone back to base yet. Jocko realizes it, manages to get off it. Manages to stop himself. Just like dragon there.
Mike just ganked here as well. Oh no.
Vignorum does have the flash available, but Smiley doesn't. And they managed to find him just about.
Really well played.
Out. It's a nice little 2v2 from them. We spoke about how as a new duo, it might be difficult for them to really get that synergy going, but so far, I've been impressed with Smiley and Vignorum.
Yeah, Vignorum just played that engagement pretty much flawlessly. Double knock-up into a disengage was about as good as that was going to get. And I'm still sort of sat curious as to why this entire Go team haven't been just prioritizing the Kalista. This is, Smiley's still up in experience based off of the Wave Shadowed, and now we've got a 4v4.
Indeed, it's going to be Scarlet off the side here, getting stunned out here. Steelback diverts his attention on. It's the Victor W that is not going to be standing up anyone. Azer goes in rather aggressively, gets the first blood of the game. He gets another one just about. That's Kareem going in. He gets the passive up over the wall. He might manage to find it all here. Dashes over the wall to Ronaldo. Ronaldo, Sue gets the double in the end. Kareem going to be managing to get that kill. It's over Ronaldo actually. Strange priority. He's taking the end there. It's a massive victory for Go.
Yeah, and it comes at the time we were expecting it to go. They find themselves the 4v4 on the bot side. They have the stronger early game bot-sided fight composition, and they win out. It's just baffling that it takes them this long to get there. They get the Drake to get 4 kills, 2 for 2 for Ronaldo and Karim. We get to see a little bit of a replay here. This was the initial disengage. Got to credit Vignorum once again. Tanks the Winter's Bite means that Smiley can't get away, and then uses that double knock-up to disengage the situation. And then
this was very much that nobody ganked Smiley 4 times in a row.
Yeah, please do not. Please avoid our jungler. Then we get the re-engage, I suppose, here. This is fight number 2.
Essentially, Scarlet here and Steelback, they try and divert their attention onto Ronaldo, but that's not your guy. He's got E's, he's got W's that are going to be healing him up. The gravity field wasn't really that effective. Azer comes in here with a really aggressive angle, which means that Smiley can't quite manage to find much. But here comes Kareem with that passive, manages to find the lock, gets the Braum over the wall here. And it's just a really effective fight in the end.
Yeah, you do get to see the power, really, of the early game, I suppose. Or the limitations, rather, of the early games.
There you go. If he manages to get those kills, you scale as well as your team's ability to kill enemy champ.
Exactly. Finding that first reset really is Viego's sort of goal in team fights. It's a certainly very nuanced thing where you have to focus down one target to set Viego up for success. But also in that fight that we just got to see, it was actually Ronaldo and Karim burning all of their cooldowns onto Scarlet, and Scarlet able to just flash away, pretty much immune to everything, and set up for what was a brief 2v4 on the bot side. And then Ronaldo and Karim were sort of there like, I'm waiting for my cooldowns to come up. Team, I want to help you bot lane. Please, I'm not leaving you out to dry. And then as soon as those cooldowns are cycled back up, they're able to get into the fight. They set up, they get the quadra kill. And,
yeah, it's a lovely bit of setup play, bit of tiki-taka between Karim Benzema and Ronaldo in the mid lane.
They're in the wrong league. Wrong league for that one. This is the LFL. We're not in the Spanish one.
I'm pretty sure Benzema was in France for a little bit.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe Ronaldo's come on a little holiday.
To the UK, big. Everybody loves it here, right?
No, it's horrible weather all week, but weathering the storm in terms of this bot lane is Team Solary. Not falling quite as far behind as needs to happen for this Calista to come online. Obviously, that CS lead is there. It's only about 9 or so. It's not quite the domination that we were looking for.
No, and I think largely that comes down to quite how much pressure Joko has put down into this bot side. Has, obviously, as you can see, sacrificed a lot of camps to be here on occasion to defend against potential ganks, potential engagements. And it has, reaped rewards for Karim. And I think that despite the Kalista not having all of this late game priority and certainly not being given too much in the early stages, this isn't necessarily a bad thing for Go because they, like I mentioned, still have Viego Akali in the late game. Look at the top lane, this Akali is going for a Riftmaker build, so he's going to be dishing out more consistent DPS with the Conqueror, being more of a nuisance, consistently hitting you with those 5-point strikes plus the passive autos, as opposed to the insane one-shot combo that we're used to. And then you've got a Viego, who's already accelerated into the late game with 2 kills already. He's going to be set up for some really strong late game team fighting, given those extra kills early on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they can really utilize this Herald here. It looks like with NUQ roaming down here and potentially looking to get Joko out of his own jungle, they might be looking for a setup around the mid lane.
But it's just looking like priority around Dragon, right? They've already got themselves the first one. I think that, the essence of having Kalista comp isn't lost on them. They still want to get an early soul, which you can really easily get away with a Kalista if you just utilize that bot prio and moving in, setting up vision early on, 2 minutes before the Drake is maybe just on the edge of when you want to start doing it. So getting in there and making sure that they have complete control of this bot side and making it really difficult for Joko to really walk into any of his camps.
I'm not quite sure in terms of when does the priority in terms of wave clear shift in the Victor map. Oh, that's a flash forward from Kareem. Might be a bit overzealous there, but Wagner comes with the setup here. And I am completely wrong in the sense that Kareem goes in, finds an aggressive play there, Wagner there to set up with him, and they find that kill. Scarlet felt like he was just under his turret.
Yeah, and it all comes from the early setup that we talked about. 2 minutes before the Dragon, they choke out the vision of Solary very early on, and it just means that even walking towards your wolves is enough danger to catch out Scarlet. Really nicely played by Go. Means that they get to control once again this bot side of the jungle in lieu of this Drake. They might like to have got a reset off and spend the gold that they get from this, but instead they're just going to stay out on the map, and that may put them in a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to a fight, because it looks like Solary may have spent all of their resources. But with the Rift Herald going down as well, that's just breaking open the turret. Smiley's going to get some gold here from it. Yeah, there we go, 610.
We talked about how were they going to open the game. We potentially thought it was a setup around the mid lane, but it looks like they found this pick. They turn on a nice edge. Kareem manages to find that pick onto Scarlet, and then they transition into the bot side.
And just really good play as well, right? We talked about them wanting to, or we wanted them to set up the Kalista. They may not have done it through distinct ganks, but they did get a good fight down in the bot lane. And fortunately, Smiley and Wagner have done a good enough job at 2v2ing efficiently to set up for a Rift Herald to just finish off and take the turret in its entirety. 2 kills worth of gold went over to Smiley for that as well. So even though he's, not got the kills to back it up, he has got that cash injection. And you can see it in the gold leads at the top of your screen. About 4,000 gold in favor of Go off the back of just 3 kills in a turret.
The Mantra Q coming out from Ronaldo there is a chunk of damage. A point that I wanted to touch on that got caught off by the fact that Kareem flashed just in a way that I didn't think he would. It really caught me off guard. I don't know if you could tell. When does the priority shift in this mid lane? Is it Karma favored for the majority of it, or is it a case when Victor gets to his upgrade, potentially that level 9 mark? Does it start to shift at all?
I think, unfortunately, at this point, it's not so much about the matchup specific and more so the way the game state has gone. Ronaldo is 100%. Always going to have push because he's always going to be winning trades. He's got the level lead. Has actually got weirdly enough, an item lead, even though it's a Moonstone. Can just constantly force out, constantly take beneficial trades. At this point in the matchup, Scarlet can use 1E to clear out the backline. You're going to see it right now. It's not too difficult for Victor to clear the wave. The difficulty comes when accessing the wave.
Okay, so in that case, it's going to be NUQ getting engaged on here. Goes into the Shroud here. Orn ultimate comes out. All of the Forge God is going to land onto him. He does not have a flash available, but that's going to mean he goes down. Who do they give it to? They managed to get to Azza in the end there. It's a nice little return kill there.
I mean, feels bad for Nuku here this game. Has done nothing except farm. The second his ADC comes to his lane, 4 people instantly collapse, all throw ults, all try and take him out, and he's like, man, I was here anyway. Why'd you come ruin my day?
That is the classic, isn't it? You sort of view AD carries as a top laner as sort of these off-worlders who only bring trouble.
Literally.
They come to the lane and they just cause problems, and that has well and truly happened.
Yeah, and a little bit unfortunate, sort of misplaced members on the map, I suppose, for Go here, because they put Smiley in the top lane to try and secure the last couple plates, or any plates really, before they went down, and try and get this turret continue to snowball the Kalista. If you can get another turret in the back pocket, obviously sets you up for success, but you don't have your really big power points of Karim plus Ronaldo duo to help stabilize, and Solary, they capitalize on that. They see that, hey, this mid-jungle duo, the power point so far, the linchpin for Go, isn't there. They capitalize, they get all of their ultis out, and they're quite happy to do that to find one kill, because look at the objectives that are going to be on the board. There's a Herald spawning in a little under a minute, but the Drake itself, the real big win condition, I suppose, here for Go, hasn't been picked up, or isn't going to be picked up for another 3 minutes, just because of the spawn timers.
So what I was going to say to you, for Solary before this play happened, you now have a slightly more accelerated Ezreal, in contrast to what was happening before. What is their way back into this game? If you can't get that priority through the mid lane and then outsource the pressure through mid, where does that have to come from?
I think that they're really playing to just not lose the game at the minute. They are behind and they don't really have any pressure to make plays on the map, right? If we see this Karma Viego pair up and move around and answer plays wisely, Go should never really lose any fights for a while. We're just waiting to see Scarlet get gold, see Azza get some gold. That kill is going to do wonders to inject a little bit more into the pacing of this Ezreal. But they just want to sit back and wait, because like we mentioned earlier on, they still have really good late game team fighting. Their issue is whether they can get there or not, and if they can stymie some of the plays that Go are going to put down, that's their leading route to do so.
I like that word, stymie. I haven't heard that in ages. It's got a very visceral feel to it.
It does. I like it.
It's one of those words you say it and you can almost taste it. Well, that sounds disgusting.
Well, I know what you mean, but I also agree with your statement.
It's a pretty slow game as we're waiting for this dragon now. It's around that 2-minute mark. We spoke about it before, how that's an important timer that Go has used so far this game to set up that vision. They are looking towards this tier 1 turret, but I think presumably after that is going to be the point where they start to move in and get this.
Yeah, they can take this turret whenever they like as well. By the way, they have a free route to put a Rift Herald over the Raptor pit wall with the vision that they've set up, and then that Rift Herald will just one-shot the turret at the health that it's got already. So whenever Karim wants to put it down, I expect it to be on the window when they start to try and establish some river control to set up for that dragon. They have the ability to do so.
Yeah, I think with that 2-dragon lead, you will see something like potentially Karim. There is the option there that he might just say, listen guys, we have an ability to give a Drake over here. Let's full charge the Rift Herald mid, maybe look towards that tier 2 as well. Nuke here is going to be going in against Giao. It's going to be a 1v1 here. Can he find that R2? Full of the Vortical comes out in response. It's going to be the Braum as well, but Braum's there. Too little, too late. Giao goes down. Solo Bolo. You get NUQ.
And this is sort of expected for this top lane matchup. Riftmaker plus Conqueror really good at getting through those tanks. He's got the Ignite as well to dish the damage through all of the resistances that Keo has tried to build up. And just a really good window to try and make that play. Steelback, unfortunately, really wasting that exhaust. We may come to see them, or see that bite them in a little bit if there is that Drake fight to ensue. About 40 seconds. Not having an exhaust to stop a Viego resetting could be detrimental.
Steelback's trying to try and get around the back of this. He can't quite manage to do it in the end there. Going to have to use that W in response. Looking for something as a fish for something, but there's not really much to find here. It is going to be the case that priority most likely transition into the 3rd dragon here. I think Jocko realizes it as he kind of wants the walk of shame towards the Krog camp.
Yeah.
Karim's here. Scarlet has flash. He's going to flash, but it's not going to mean much. The knock-up means that it's going to be reset immediately for Karim. Vignorum picks up his...
Yeah, and really nice patience. Honestly, that's all you need to do when you're channeling really these targets, or the target CCs, the Viego W leading example, because you have to play reactionarily as the mid laner there, as Scarlet, to flash away from the CC, and even if you get it right, which unfortunately they weren't able to, you still have an impending Rakan knockup that's going to come through as well. So they're just using their angles, running Pythagoras on it, and saying, you know, you have to flash before we have to use our spells, and they end up getting the kill.
I feel like, I hope you're keeping track. This is our 2nd Hextech Soul of the game. I feel like this Hextech Soul will really enable Go's comp in a lot of ways.
If there's one thing that Kalista loves, it's attack speed. So getting a Hextech Drakes in itself are going to be very useful. The 2 that you're expecting Go to get this game going to set up for success in that regard, but you are quite right. The Soul in its own right just has so much teamfight power. It is without a doubt one of the strongest Souls at present, and Smiley.
But I hope he doesn't walk up here. Yeah, he smelt that one out from a mile away there. You know, you thought he was maybe jitting and flitting a bit too close to the bush there, but he's going to walk towards this Grom. Nice little bit of discipline from Smiley there.
No, and it's these small things that could have a large swing on the map, because as soon as you lose your Callista there, you're forced into a sort of 20-30 second window where you kind of want to make a cross-map play, but then you have that impending pressure of, well, we now don't have our AD carry to do things. And
Nash is spawning as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so I tried to make a play, and that's the issue.
Control is the game, though, as they've transitioned a lot of resources up into this top side, going to be pushing in these waves, getting that priority, now looking to set up around the Nash.
And with the Baron spawning, like, well, now, there we go. This is a very early Baron setup. When you have Callista Viego and a Karma to tank up, it's not too badly idea.
Ooh, Smiley might have been caught out here, has both sums available. Call of the Forge God is going to find him in the backline there, but Vignerum, very good counter engage to keep Jocko out. Jocko has this ultimate available, not going to quite pop it here, but here comes a new Q here. Is he going to go in here? Has the E. My Heinz telling me no. Doesn't quite manage to find a way in just about, but it's scary for a second.
I wouldn't have gone in there, but I would have wanted somebody to go in there. Just to start us off, just to see some good old big going on.
Rather him than you.
Exactly. Do as I say, not as I please in that situation for new Q, because definitely didn't go in, but I would have liked it regardless.
It would have looked good.
It would have, until he got CC'd and died. But then...
Indeed.
Anyway.
A little Victor W on top of you will, stop you from ever doing that again.
Exactly. And,
They've completely pivoted on this. Smiley's gone quite low, which means he's going to have to get off and get that plant.
Well, that's nothing. It's a good effort, and now they've set themselves behind. This is like a little window where Solary can make a move, because we've got...
Yeah, Solary can get mid prior.
Exactly. They've got to reset or make their transition back through their jungle to the mid lane. They're going to go for this turret. It might be difficult to get. Karma Mantriku should just clear out those minions and just stymie the push in its own right.
Stymie again. I love that word, man.
Crutch words.
No, it's not a... Listen, it's not a crutch if it is just a wonderful word. Okay. I want to fully encourage you in your use of these weird, wonderful words.
Thank you.
No worries.
You are an inspiration for those.
Thank you so much. That's very nice to hear. But nice things to hear. Not a flash W forward onto Azza when he still has E. That is not a nice thing. He is going to have to heal, though, eventually. Not massively a beneficial trade for the side of Ronaldo, but, he flexed his muscles a little bit there.
I think the logic there was, okay, I burn the Ezreal E, even if I have to burn my flash, and then new Q can come in and burn or get the kill, essentially. But that didn't come to fruition. There was some good running of marking by Jocko to stop it. But they've got this lead, and they're just constantly going back to the Baron, constantly forcing these fights and saying, please fight us, we want to find an engagement.
I think they realise they need to crack the game open with this Baron, especially with the Callista potentially getting to a point where it doesn't have as much utility, but Call of the Forge God is going to be coming out now. Kiao comes onto it, lands onto Ronaldo. Ronaldo goes very low.
Ooh.
Victor ult is massive. What can Kiao do as he finds Karma out of stasis? He's not going to find anything. NUQ tried to find something on the backline, does manage to find Ezreal in the end there. But it is going to be Go licking their wounds back to base as they try to open the game. They try to crack it open. But the yoke has come spilling out. They come up against the wall too hard.
I mean, Vignerum... Oh, he gets out. That's insane.
No, that's very good.
Wow. Okay. Well played. But the issue that Go have now is that they're not quite far enough ahead to take these fights at Baron when they've already had their resistances drained. And you can see that this teamfight composition that Solary have drafted actually teamfights pretty well. When you have a Victor who's able to keep up the damage, when you've got Ezreal constantly trying to drain out that damage from behind, really credit goes to Vignerum and NUQ for that not being a complete whitewash, because Vignerum got a 3-man, he got a 3-man knock-up into a 4-man charm.
He's been very impressive in this teamfight so far.
And NUQ was able to take down the ADC as well, so it is a 1-for-1 overall, but that was a saving play for Go. When they're up in gold, that's not what you want to be hearing.
I think in terms of what we spoke on the preamble, in regards to how Vignerum coming in, how does this 2v2 stack up against Azza and Steelback? I think Vignerum especially been very impressive for me as Sly are trying to equalize, or stop rather, these dragons. Just as I said it, cast the curse, Vignerum goes in, but he does manage to find a bit of time here in space. He now has a bit of a flank to walk towards. NUQ on the side here, have a look at him. Kareem has to ult out. Dragon does get reset though.
A pincering, they've got a lot of angles to try and get in from. Go looking for this fight. Drake started up now.
All of the Forge God isn't quite available yet. A few seconds, it's going to be a smite from Kareem. Finds the soul. That's NUQ onto Scarlet now. He finds him R2. All of the Forge God isn't going to do much. Azza goes very low here. They need to find him in the end there. It's a complete wipe for Go. Smiley, a smile on his face as they find the triple kill. They might just look to open up the game through bottom lane.
Yeah, they have a bit of time now with the minions already coming through. Looks like it's just going to be an inhib, and with an inhib in the bot lane, you know what that sets up for, Don Jake? That's that Baron that they've been looking toward for a very long time. Really good job by Team Go. Yes, they lose out in the 1-for-1 in the top side around the Baron, but they burn so many crucial cooldowns. Steelbag didn't have Glacial Fissure to have any part of that fight. Keo only got his Call the Forge God at the very end, and then NuQ, running absolute havoc in the backline, was able to take down Scarlet, this Victor who is trying to be the DPS threat for this entire composition, and then able to come into the front line and get rid of Azza as well, doing a very good job piloting the Akali this match.
Yeah, Scarlet got read like an absolute book there by NuQ, manages to find the pincer there, get taken out, not be able to do that DPS like you would have liked them to do, as you previously mentioned. And now, for you, as a team, Go. Go is obviously a game that is akin to chess. Has it been a tactical chess game or more of a dance?
I think they've been dancing, I'm not going to lie. They've certainly been moving
Baron,
around.
a lot of Baron dances we see here. He manages to find that spike. Crucial here as the engage again from Wagnerum is so huge. Gets into the Callisto ult, manages to put the disturbance for Kiao and the Xin Zhao, and it is with the NuQ on the backside there. And from that point onwards, it was a one-fight.
Yeah, and that's effectively a 4v5 as well. Steelback was just not a part of the fight really at all. Good flash forced from, or the flash from Scarlet was good to dodge the Wagnerum engage. Really well timed on that, but unfortunately he just flashes into NuQ, and that's why I talked about all the angles that they're coming from. There's no real safe way to flash if you're trying to get out of there, because somebody's coming from some angle to cut you off.
Absolutely. And now it's the case that bottom lane, as we said previously, pressure is mounting. Someone's going to have to answer that. It is going to be Go. He has that teleport available, but now is the time for Go. Whereas before, they've kind of been a bit too eager around this Nash. Now they can truly, really get onto it and probably just end up getting it straight out.
Yeah, goal number one is to force TP from Keo. They may back off after they've got it, but if they can just start it off entirely, they may just look for the finish.
I'm quite low now. It's around 6k now. NuQ again onto Scarlet. That's going to be the R2. Manages to find a killing spree. It's going to be the flash forward.
Oh, no!
It's the Ezreal that gets it. Azza finds the steal in the end there. Joko's going to be the man that gets taken out, but absolutely massive from Azza.
Oh, but look at the base now. TP from NuQ. He wants to go and end the game. They have the numbers to do it.
He gets stunned up, though. Kallista's going in big. I'm going to manage to try and find Kiao here. It's a reset now. NuQ's behind Steelback. Azza's getting pincered here. Diego goes forward. They're trying to find Azza. If they can get this, it's game over. It might just be like another double kill. What a tremendous steal from Azza, but it's just not going to be enough. And Go manages to take the game and steal it right back.
And it all comes down to that bot lane inhibitor. If that wasn't down, there would be no TP angle. Solary would get away with 3 members having the Baron being stolen away. But there's a TP angle for NuQ. He opens up the game, opens up the fight with the kill onto Scarlet, and opens up the game in the end.
What a tremendous display. Go really got their hands on this game in the early game, managed to keep it. We talked about how they needed to enable that Kalista, and they really did it, and they managed to accelerate it all the way to a victory.
Yeah, and I don't really think that the Kalista, like, enabled